Court is concerned. They've both got 40 at the moment. Chasing, of course, Guillermo Vilas, who has the most, the South American. Of course, still a fair few titles ahead in that department. Interesting, as I mentioned last week, all those guys lefties.
Yes, and Federer won't like reminding about how tough he's found it over the years facing a left-hander. Federer, of course, plenty on the line today. He's won 76 titles throughout the course of his illustrious career. If he wins today, he'll tie John McEnroe, and they will be third on the all-time leaderboard in terms of total tournament victories. Connors, of course, out there in front, a record that might never be beaten. 109 times he found himself in the winner's circle, and of course Lendl is second with 94 tournament victories. So McEnroe on 77, Federer just behind him on 76. And of course Federer today going for a 22nd ATP Masters Series 1000 title. Nadal, the all-time leader, going for a 24th this afternoon, coming off the back of the 23rd, of course, which he was able to win last week on clay in Madrid. He's had a sensational season so far, trying to win his 6th ATP World Tour title of the year, which would be the 56th of his glorious career. The comeback has been simply sensational, and it continues this afternoon. The crowd certainly appreciates the effort that he's put forth at this particular event down the year. But listen to the roar for Federer. In a city that appreciates style above substance, they really appreciate what they get in the form of Roger Federer every time he steps onto the match court. Of course, in Federer, they've got a bit of both, haven't they?
They certainly have. Such a stark contrast in the style of these two guys. One is just raw power, a lot of effort in everything he does, and of course Federer so smooth the way he goes about his work.
He's had a rough season so far. This, of course, his first final. He's won a tournament last 12 seasons that he's been competing on the ATP World Tour. He's had a bit of a struggle this year. Started okay in Australia, but then problem with his back. He was rusty last week, wasn't he?
He certainly
but he's played better this week.
Yeah, and he said after that loss to Nishikori last week that he was going to hit the practice courts hard because he wanted to be ready, and whatever it was going to take, he was going to do between Madrid and here, and he certainly has looked sharp, especially at the beginning of the week. Was well tested in his last 2 matches, but has come through pretty comfortably in the end, not dropping a set on the way through to the final as Federer.
Of course, when you talk about impressive numbers, Nadal on clay is simply the best. Since 2005, he's won almost 96% of his matches on this surface. Never in a season has he lost more than 2 matches. And of course, looking to improve those numbers further still this afternoon, going in search of a 41st title on his beloved clay. And I'll tell you what, if he wants to have a little chat with Boris, Boris will be telling him how difficult it is to win a single title.
Some special guys today, coin toss. Roger, just before the coin toss, they want to make a picture of 2 guys facing over there. There? Yeah.
Nice to see Boris here this afternoon, another great champion. But, he would have preferred to have taken on both Federer and Nadal
Roger,
on the lawns of the All England Club, wouldn't he?
Yep. Listeos, Rafa. Receive. Have a good match, guys. Thank you.
Spun with German efficiency.
A real sense of occasion when these two take to the match court. For the 30th time, these two going at it this afternoon. And of course, on clay, Nadal has utterly dominated this particular rivalry, winning 12 of the 14 matches that have taken place on the dirt. Of course, Federer did come so close back in 2006. And this week, he'll argue that he's playing some pretty decent tennis. A win yesterday in straight sets. Strangely enough, Robbie, yesterday's match, one of his weaker of the week.
Yeah, I guess that's fair to say, but Pear's a tricky customer, and he played well, so I think you've got to give credit where credit's due. He did well to fight off Janovic in straight sets. Janovic had set points in that second set, should have won it, bar a couple of poor shot selections with the drop shot. That could have been interesting if it had gone to the third, because I think the belief for Janovic would have really grown had he won that second.
Nadal yesterday, one of the best performances of the week.
Outstanding. He absolutely crushed Berdych. I think off the back of those two tough matches that he had with the Gulbis and Ferrer, that was always going to tee him up nicely to take on Berdych, who he's got a good record against. I think when you can handle Gulbis and Ferrer, anything thereafter was probably going to be a simpler proposition, and he showed that to us by dominating Berdych.
There's always a lot of discussion as to just how great Nadal is overall, and specifically on this surface. In your mind, is he the greatest of all time on clay?
Without a doubt, even though he hasn't won as many titles as Guillermo Vilas, he doesn't play nearly as many tournaments throughout the course of a season as what Vilas plays. And of course, he's still got many years ahead of him. I think we're going to see him playing a little bit more.
Fingers crossed.
Exactly. I think in future years after the Australian Open, I think he's going to play a little bit more in South America and try and reduce his schedule on a hard court. So I think he's going to rack up those titles thick and fast in years to come.
Seems strange, doesn't it, looking at the ranking and seeing him at 5. But when you look on current form, when you talk about the race to London, as it were, results since January the 1st, then nobody has won as many matches as Nadal. The comeback's been simply sensational.
I mean, it has. You know, 5 titles and 7 finals coming in here. Of course, this being his 8th, and you know he's on a big roll now. And I don't think he could have even thought the comeback would have been that good. Against Fognini, he was so good. And then the Gulbis and Ferrer matches are 2 players who actually match up well against him. Both of them good double-handed backhands. They can take it on the rise. They can move him out wide to the forehand initially and then take their backhands up the line. Pattern of play that we know works so well against him.
Yeah, Ferrer came within 2 points of beating Nadal last week, didn't he? And we know historically how difficult it is to win back-to-back Masters Series 1000 titles. So he's got an excellent shot this afternoon at creating a little bit of history there as well. But always nice, isn't it, to come through a couple of stern tests, and that's exactly what he did, particularly against Gulbis, who played some incredible tennis in the opening set there. No panic from Nadal, came through in 3 sets there, and then yesterday in the semi-final, as we mentioned earlier, was outstanding against Berdych. Played a lot more aggressively than he did earlier in the week, which was good to see. Of course, Federer's the wrong side of 30 now. He'll argue, it doesn't matter, I'm still playing really good tennis, I can still beat these guys on my day. But it's very much on the day, isn't it? He can't do it over the course of a season on a regular basis now, particularly Nadal on a clay court. When we looked back at that final in 2006, I mean, he was playing lights out, wasn't he? Aggressive, all-court tennis. More of the same required today?
Absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. I mean, he's lost to Nadal already this year on a hard court, so that doesn't bode well. But he's got to come in a fair bit. I think I'd like to see him use that backhand slice approach up the line a lot to Nadal if he does get him moving out right. And he's going to have to serve exceptionally well as well. That's key. He did so against Janovic, and it's going to have to be more of the same. I think, you know, above 70% first serves in is going to be very key for Rog.
He's the type of player that doesn't play as much tennis as Nadal throughout the course of a season. He still has this ability to maintain his confidence when he hasn't played a lot of tennis. Got enough matches under his belt this week. Do you think genuinely, deep down, he believes he can beat Nadal on the clay court?
That's a good question. How can you not, though, when you've achieved everything he's achieved? But that belief is less. You know, it might have been, you know, 75% a couple of years ago. Probably now that belief is down. It's been whittled down to about 25–30% belief. You can never write somebody off as good as Federer.
Overall records, well, of course, it's in Nadal's favour. But if you break that down on the different surfaces, as we did in our pre-match analysis yesterday, Federer leads 2 wins to 1 on a grass court. It's 6 apiece on a hard court, but on clay, a very different story.
Yeah, he's only won 2 out of the 14 contests that they've had, so you can just see the matchup. I mean, even on his favourite surface, grass, he's only just got the better of Nadal. We've spoken about why the matchup is such a difficult one for Federer. The ability of Nadal to hook that forehand cross-court so aggressively with so much spin. We know how difficult it is for single-handers against Rafa. The guys who do have success have the double-hand.
Yeah, that's the big difference for me. You commentated on the final in Madrid. Stanislas Wawrinka coming off the back of a win in Estoril, playing some fantastic tennis, beat Burdick in the semi-finals. No chance in the final. Yes, he was a little jaded, but it didn't matter. Single-handed backhand. Nadal just destroys those types of players. He played Nico Almagro in the final of Barcelona, who was playing some incredible tennis throughout the course of the week. Played lights out for the first 4 games and hit winner after winner. But then as soon as it started to rain a little bit, he just couldn't handle the high forehand to the single-handed backhand. And that's the problem for me, and it has been for Federer, hasn't it? He's gone close with Nadal on a few occasions, but it's maintaining that high level of play throughout the course of the match on clay when rally after rally, they're all the same. Yep, just going to try and break down the backhand, and he loses his confidence in the middle of the match and then starts forcing on the forehand. And that was the one thing in the semi-final that worried me a little bit. Forehand went AWOL, didn't it?
It did. He started to miss it a fair few. We've seen that happen to Roger over the years. He tries to make a thin contact and be aggressive with that forehand, and then he starts to shank it. And he's got to be careful of that today. But of course, you talk about confidence coming into a match. It's the first time, I think, since '99, when he had a full year on the tour, that Federer hasn't won a title. So confidence is definitely got to be a little bit lower, and that makes the task of beating this guy that much harder.
And that's why, of course, it's absolutely vital that Federer gets off to a decent start. It's a glorious afternoon in the Eternal City. 2 players that are legends in their own lifetimes. This afternoon facing off for the 30th time. Nadal has utterly dominated the rivalry on this particular surface. But Nadal, you fancy, despite the fact that he's won this tournament on 6 previous occasions, won't perhaps be the favourite as far as the neutrals are concerned. I'd love to see Federer get one over on his nemesis here this afternoon. If both play anywhere near as well as we know they're capable of, it should be a fantastic afternoon's entertainment. It'll be Federer to get us underway.
Bodes well. 15 love.
That's nice to see. Can't afford to get stuck at the baseline. Needs to take the match to Nadal.
And he said as much yesterday in his post-match press conference. I think he might have been listening to our finals preview, Jason.
Tennis. That's what I've really enjoyed seeing towards the tail end of this week from Nadal. A more aggressive court position.
So it'll be a nice battle within the overall war.
30-15.
Both of them trying to be aggressive. In fact, Federer's exact words were, almost doesn't matter what the surface or what the conditions are, I've got to play aggressive tennis and take it to Rafa. To mention the spin as well. He says, I know he doesn't give me much on clay. He's got incredible spin. He's well aware of what hurts him.
It's a glorious opening service game, full of good things. And of course, that's the main reason why he needs to serve effectively this afternoon. He made 4 of 5 first serves there, and that allows him to implement his game plan.
Yeah, came in twice as well, so that was good. Of course, last time they played in Indian Wells, it just injured his back a little bit, had Federer.
The one shot perhaps that Nadal hasn't hit incredibly well since coming back has been the return of serve. So again, if Federer is able to keep him guessing, put a high percentage of first serves in, make the most of weak returns, he's got an opportunity. Interesting to see how well Federer is able to return this afternoon too. His general game plan when returning off the backhand, and of course as a left-hander Nadal can get the vast majority of his serves to that particular wing, is just to chip it back in play. And if he drops it short, Nadal's got the right mindset, then he can dominate with the forehand. And we know Federer doesn't like defending.
Primo servizio.
It's a famous trifecta of fantastic tennis players. Manolo Santana was doing all the hard work last week in Madrid. Nicola Pietrangeli, stalwarts of Italian tennis. And then, of course, Boris Becker, guest of honour this year. Never won a tournament on clay, did he? Came close. Tough old final in Monte Carlo, if memory serves me correctly, against Thomas Muster one year. It's a breezy one this afternoon, and earlier today it was blowing from this end, so this shot here that Federer hits just got caught on the wind a little bit. He's got to be careful. Hitting the drop shot works into the wind as opposed to hitting with it. But it's a nice, bright, sunny day, so the court's drying out nicely. Generally speaking, that will favour Nadal in terms of the spin that he puts on the ball and the work that he gets off the court. It'll help Federer in terms of quality of his serving, perhaps, get a few more cheap points, and when he's aggressive with the forehand and when he comes into the net on the volley.
Yep. He used to like coming in a fair bit.
He was okay, wasn't he, at serving and volleying. Now lives in Wimbledon, of course. Family there.
Fellow member.
Down the local club. Still extremely popular everywhere he goes, but particularly in England, given his exploits at Wimbledon.
What about the odd here? Second serve, just to come in. To see a little bit of that as well from Roger.
Again, that's harder to do with a single-handed backhand, isn't it? As opposed to the likes of Benoit Paire that did it all week, coming in behind the double-hander. Janovic sometimes does that too. It's the variation from the Spaniards. Bring the heat up the tee and go out wide to the right-hander's forehand in the deuce court. Won't happen very often. And of course, because of that, when he does, 9 times out of 10 gets a nice cheap point with it. So both players have made good starts. forceful forehands. Of course, Federer's one of those players that hates backing off, hates giving up territory and defending throughout the course of rallies. That's good tactic from the Spaniard. Get him on the back foot. Every vantage point taken this afternoon.
Unbelievable running passing shots this week, especially against Gulbis, who threw everything at him. That was probably about the only half volley that Federer could hit that Nadal wouldn't track down. It's great camera work from the boys early doors. Positive body language as well there from Federer.
Yeah, he's certainly well aware of the fact that he needs to start well, build up the confidence.
Yeah, and the 29 matches they've played. The player who's won the first set, Jason, has gone on to win 22 of the meetings. Of late, it's 16 of the last 18. So the first set, as you suggested, is of vital importance.
A couple of unforced errors off the forehands, hurting Federer there. So the Spaniards able to get the first break of serve. Leads 2-1. Nadal's done really well so far. He's gone to the Federer forehand early on in the rally to open up the court, and then he's able to attack the backhand. Sensible game plan. Good body serve. It's always a nice tactic to use against an opponent you think he's going to try and offend, return aggressively. It's difficult to take a full swing at the ball when it's coming into your body. More often than not, you just have to block, or if you do try and swing, as Federer did there, it's a good chance you're going to mistime the shot. Same scenario. That lefty serve coming into the body. It's tough to run around. This is the problem for Federer. You know, if you're a Djokovic there, or you're a Murray, Gulbis, you can let the ball come to your backhand, crunch the return. It's exactly what Djokovic did in Monte Carlo, wasn't it?
So effectively as well, and he was able to find Nadal's backhand so often with that return. And we know how key that was in the outcome of that match. When he was able to find Nadal's backhand with the return, Nadal on the first serve was only able to win 2 of the 12 points when that happened.
Working the momentum well in the early stages of this opening sets. Nadal has won 10 of the last 12 points. Now leads 3-1.
3 games to 1.
Incredible. Starts returning this well, Jason, then Roger's going to be in all kinds of trouble.
Has to work for Federer today to stand any chance at all. And 9 unforced errors in total, 6 of which have come off the forehand. And struggling for points at the moment.
Very important point that we haven't highlighted yet is just how well Nadal moves on this particular surface. He's on a level of his own. Ferrer was pretty good, must say. Almost match him in that department.
And you mentioned last week, Robbie, off the back of that tournament win in Madrid, but at the moment he's executing it perfectly. And he leads 4-1 first set.
And it's always so nice to be able to illustrate how many RPMs Nadal's putting on. There's a red ball bouncing there. There's a big one, it's over 3,000. There's another big forehand. You can see Federer just having to defend against the spin, and eventually it just wears him out. And, the vast majority, almost 70% of the shots in that rally is struck with an enormous amount of spin. Federer just struggles to live with it. And that has been the problem in this matchup for Roger.
So Nadal now looking to build on this already sizable lead.
Seduti per favore, i giocatori sono pronti, grazie.
unfortunate there. Nadal missed time on that shot and still fell in. But he plays high percentage tennis, so that's going to happen. Plenty of neutrals making themselves heard now, trying to get behind Federer, who's simply struggling for points at the moment. 5 of the last 24.
NADAL taking the job over. 5 games to 1.
Federer needing to hold serve here, stay in this opening set. It's missed by a country mile, and the numbers he's posting on serve make interesting readings. Made 13 of 17 first serves, 76%, so that's pretty good. We said he needed to make a lot of first serves, but he's only won 46% of those points so far, and only 1 of 4 second serve points won, 25%, so nightmare. Nadal has returned well. We haven't seen much serving and volleying since the opening game, have we?
Exactly right.
15 on.
A couple of aces now.
Quindi 30, 15, 13.
It's the first time in the match where Nadal's actually got a racket on the serve and he's missed it.
Nadal will force you to go ever closer to the lines. Federer's played him enough to understand that he has to try and resist that. Forehand's been a bit of a liability in this opening set. Set point. Nadal, quite simply too good in that opening set on 22 of the last 27 points. One-way traffic, 6 games to 1 in 23 minutes. So Nadal wrapping up the opening set, 6 games to 1 in well under half an hour. Could prove ominous.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, in the previous 29 matches, the winner of the first set has gone on to win 22 times. And perhaps even more relevant, 16 of the last 18, Jason. So Rafa well on his way already.
New balls to get this second set underway.
Serve finishing. Love opening.
Much more like it.
I love the way he took that backhand on the rise. Hip height. You can see how effective that shot is against NADAL. It's only 1 point though. He'll be able to do it time and time again over long periods of time.
Such a shame. That's the problem. He played the point perfectly, tactically spot on. The execution has been poor in the match so far.
15, 30.
That's about as easy a volley as you're going to get. Probably end up losing the game now because of that shot. Such a big difference. Could be 40 love up. All the pressure right back on NADAL.
And when you're struggling for confidence, you need to put a run of points together, play a couple of good games, give yourself a fighting chance. We saw how NADAL was able to wrestle the momentum from Federer very early on in that opening set and then made an exceptionally good use of it. Missed many of those today.
30-40.
A bit of a let-off for Federer.
30-40.
Gives him his very first break point.
Federer only making 60% of the returns. Minor off his first serve.
Advantage NADAL.
There you go. Like a premeditated place, decided to go after it.
Didn't he hold beautifully before making contact with the ball on the backhand there?
And even that last pass was such an intelligent one because Had Federer guessed right here, he still would have had a low volley.
Yes. Look at the spin, brushing up the back of the ball. No pace on that. Wanted to drop it short. So intelligent. Nice chance there, Federer.
Yeah, love 30 high backhand volley to go up, love 40. Ends up costing him the game, no question about it. Hasn't been able to make any inroads, any meaningful returns as Federer. In stark contrast, Nadal's been unbelievable. He's made 95% of the returns. In fact, there's just one blue ball there. See if you can find it. There it is. Bottom of your screen on the right-hand side, the only unreturned one. And of course, that's taking into account when Nadal does get racket on the ball. You can see his game plan returning nice and deep to give him as much time as possible to get a good, clean strike on the ball.
And he always likes standing way back to return, but it's the quality of those returns that has improved throughout the course of the week here.
He's certainly hitting a little deeper. And of course, when he gets it to Federer's backhand, Federer finds it very difficult to step in and be aggressive with the first shot thereafter.
There's a perfect example that we're talking about. That time it did drop short. You've got something central, you've got something to attack. Someone like a Gulbis had the speed cop forehand, didn't he? Working well, he had the backhand, and he was really putting Nadal under a lot of pressure. Whereas today, Federer, even when he gets those opportunities, just missing.
18 unforced errors in the match so far.
So how much of this, Robbie, in your opinion, is Federer under Tenis? He's had the bad back, he just is not playing well enough. And how much of it is facing Nadal on a clay court and all the mental scarring that comes with that?
It's all that, I believe. When you've been completely dominated by a player, wears out that belief you have to win, even somebody as great as this guy.
Mirka wasn't saying that, why weren't you feeding him high balls to the backhand all week?
Doesn't help either that he hasn't played as many matches this season as what he has done in the previous decade, come May. But to a much lesser degree, Jason.
And a chance for Nadal to break. Nothing wrong with the tactic from Federer, trying to come in, forcing Nadal to hit a winning shot in order to win the point and get the break. But perhaps a little less conviction in this now, given the scoreline and given all that's happened in the last 35 minutes. He moves so well, doesn't he? Look at the spin on the ball. Beautiful use of the wrists up the back of it. High percentage play, that going cross-court under pressure. That's what Nadal's all about, especially on a clay court. Utterly dominant so far this afternoon. He's won 8 of the 9 games played. Leads now by a set, 2 games to love.
It is 8 in a row, isn't it, Chase? Federer held his opening service game since then. He's got nothing to show for it. It's just more of the same, isn't it? Just so aggressive with the footwork around the ball.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Because when you're playing someone who has to slice their backhand there, you don't hit it as hard as a player would with a double-handed backhand. So it gives Nadal more time to get around and use that forehand. Footwork's improved this week. Tactic's so simple, isn't it? He just goes to the Federer forehand to open up the backhand. Then he gives him one of those. If he makes it, goes back to the forehand, opens up the backhand, gives him another one, until eventually Federer just breaks down. He's utterly dominant from the back of the court. Federer with no chance to live with Nadal from the baseline.
NADAL.
Too many of the locals can quite believe what they've witnessed so far this afternoon. Federer struggling to win points, let alone games. 3-love now. Plenty for the Spanish fans to enjoy this afternoon. Too much for the Swiss fans, though. Federer now surely for pride more than anything else. Desperate need of a decent service game here. Of 3. Let's look at the big picture as far as Nadal's concerned. If he does win this tournament, back-to-back Masters Series 1000 titles, heading into the French Open. Of course, he's not top dog anymore in terms of the rankings, but the man to beat, undoubtedly.
Yes. That's the way he takes that slice. I think Federer's got a better chance there if he sits back and slice up the line rather than cross-court to Nadal's forehand. Nadal can do anything with the forehand. Can't be as aggressive with his backhand.
Crisp volley. A little easier because the attempted pass from Nadal was hit just a little high up rather than with spin dipping to Federer's feet.
advantage, Federer. Those forehand winners have been few and far between today.
40-30.
That's how good it has to be on the rise, on the line.
It's hard when you're sitting in the box there and you can't do anything about what's happening on the court. Your nearest and dearest is getting a good duffing. Better from Federer.
It's one of the few rallies in the match where he's been able to boss it from start to finish. And still, the defensive skills of NADAL are phenomenal. He had a good strike on that forehand pass as well.
Always a good tactic to use against Federer.
He uses that shot so smartly as well. You see just about every other player on tour make poor shot selections with the drop shot occasionally in matches. Almost never from NADAL.
Vantaggio, Federer.
It's a much better game. And that's now use that as a platform.
NADAL produce 3 giochi a 1. 3 games to 1.
Of course, as Nadal's is concerned, it's all about maintaining the concentration and focus now. Done the hard work. 3 games away from victory. Position in order to hit aggressively, especially on the clay court, and there is a bit of variation in the bounce. Footwork's got to be exceptional. That's why Nadal was suggesting off the back of that victory last week in Madrid that he wanted to improve it, wanted it to become even better. And we've seen that throughout the course of the week. Nadal short. That ball was deep.
Yep.
Freshly shorn Carlos Bernardes, following in Federer's footsteps in that regard, agrees.
Wonder if they use the same shaving company or not.
Served very effectively so far this afternoon. Made almost 70% of his first serves, won almost 80% of the points when that first serve's gone in. And of course, the one thing you have to do when you play against the best in the world is attack their second serve and make the most of the opportunities you get when you get a look at it. Federer hasn't done that. He's only won 2 of 10 points so far when he's returns Nadal's weaker offering. Nicely done.
Beautiful disguise and that slice forehand approach. Everybody, including Nadal, thought that Federer was going to play the drop shot there. Always able to get racket on ball somehow.
Went over, but another sublime pass from Nadal at full stretch off the backhand. And the Spaniard moves within a couple of games of victory. He leads by a set, 4 games to 1 now. It's been one-way traffic so far, only been in court 50 minutes. Nadal 2 games away from victory. If he goes on to win the match as comfortably as it seems he's going to, does that enhance his reputation going into the French Open, or does it detract from Federer's?
You know, I think it enhances it a little bit, because obviously losing early in the season, there were a lot of questions when he lost to Novak in Monte Carlo, but you know, once he's got a couple of matches under his belt, he's shown that he is still a man. And whilst Novak has beaten him, and might beat him in the finals of the French Open, the big question is, can Novak get to the final? Gets the million-dollar question. Nadal, what he showed us last couple of weeks is, I'm going to be there, and if we're on the opposite end of the draw, can you be there?
Of course, this final used to be played over 5 sets, didn't it? The epic in 2006 between these two was a fine example of tennis of the very highest order, strung over 5 hours. But in France, of course, over 5 sets, it only becomes much more difficult for opponents facing Nadal, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
We've seen players earlier this week in Gulbis and FEDERER able to do it well enough to win a set. We've seen Federer do it in the past against Nadal on a clay court, but to do it over 5 sets, virtually impossible. Nicely done. Good hands.
I think we all agree there's probably only one guy that's got a legitimate shot at doing it, but he's not necessarily going to be there in the finals, based on what we've seen of late. So, reminds me a little bit about Federer's matchups with Nadal on grass. It was almost like Roger was always going to be there. Could Nadal make it to the final, because that was always the big threat. But it was always tough for Nadal to make it to the finals. The lawns of the All England Club.
It's a nice return. That's what we were talking about earlier. Height, spin, the Federer backhand, so tough to deal with. We've got a single-handed backhand. Less said about that, the better. Bordering on embarrassing.
Correction.
Just skipping off the line, so good spot from the umpire.
I don't think you see it, but you can hear it as well. Just makes a little tick sound when the ball hits the line.
Nadal shot really well today. Backhand cross court to the Federer forehand. We know Federer's a little weaker moving that way compared to moving to his left when he wants to run around his backhand. And Nadal has exploited that weakness really well today. Worst case scenario when Federer's got that ball back in play is then just attack the backhand with the next shot. Tennis.
This time you make sure with the high volley. Nice big target. And even though he doesn't get there, the fact that he makes the effort, you see that out the corner of your eye, and you always think, well, next time I need to hit it a little close to the line. Nadal is the master of chasing balls down. Ferrer's cut from a similar sort of cloth. And that's why I've got Luke playing with double-handed backhand, Jason, because if there's a lefty out there in the next decade or so, he's going to have to deal with this sort of nonsense.
Glad to hear it. Definitely the way forward. Break point, Nadal. Surely is the final nail in the coffin as far as Federer's concerned. It's been a joy to watch for all those associated with the Spaniard this afternoon. I'm sure they're expecting a much tougher match. We all were to a certain degree. Of course, Nadal was the heavy favourite, but we're all hopeful that Federer could come out here this afternoon and execute his game plan very well, and then of course he would be in with a fighting chance. It's been the exact opposite. He's played poorly, and it's been a stroll in the park for the Spaniard as a result, after just 58 minutes serving for the championship.
One of the few times he's been able to get the return to the backhand. You can see how important it is. And Novak had such good success against Nadal in the past. It's because of that very pattern of play. Beautiful extension through the ball. Even though Nadal lost the point there, you can see the difference. When the return goes to Nadal's forehand, straight away he's onto you. He's got you running, he's got you on a string. Very got lucky there that he got the unforced error. There it is again. Twice in the game. Federer's got the return to the backhand of Nadal. Twice he's won the points.
0-40. L'emporte. Dove sono pronti, grazie, per favore.
Losing his concentration a tad there. Some better tennis from Federer, no question about it. Keeps him in the hunt, but only just. Nadal leads 5-2, second set.
Tempo. Seduti per cortesia, grazie.
So Federer's back very much against the wall. Serving to stay in it now. A little drop shot. He hasn't had good feel on that one today, has he? That's a good tactic to use. Nadal sometimes can get stuck a little deep behind his own baseline, but last couple of matches that he's played this week, he's been much more aggressive. He's stood much further up the court, and that allows him to chase down that shot a little easier. Was late, but it was definitely wide. Both players were waiting for it.
15-13.
Oh yes, it's a lovely shot.
There he is to deal with that dipping first volley. This shot is majestic. Nice little snap of the wrist there in order to create the angle.
much better execution there. That one was perfect.
Ahead time, he gets perfect contact with the ball. You can see that big clump of clay as it bounces.
And that makes it interesting. A couple of decent games from Federer. Reduced the arrears to 2 games now. And of course, NADAL still just 4 points from victory. Been some great champions down the years at this particular event, dating back to 1930 when Big Bill Tilden was a winner. Frank Sedgman in 52, Lou Hode in 56, Rod Laver 62, Borg of course in 74, Vilas in 80, Lendl in 86, Muster in 90, Agassi in 2002. But of late, this tournament has been dominated by Rafael Nadal, serving now for a 7th championship here. Nadal going back to basics on the first point of such an important game. High, hit with a lot of spin to the Federer backhands. That kind of afternoon, as far as Federer is concerned. Nadal has simply proved to be too good this afternoon. Federer well short of his best. Here's the Spaniard. 3 championship points. He's done it. A smile of delight on the face of Nadal. A 24th ATP Masters Series 1000 title. His 6th ATP World Tour title of the year. The 56th of his illustrious career. And the 41st, of course, on his beloved clay. His 7th victory here in Rome in just 9 appearances. Proves his record against Federer to 13 wins and just 2 losses lifetime on clay. A winner today in straight sets, 6-1, 6-3.
Well, he was just too good. Those patterns of play that he loves on a clay court were just executed to perfection. Federer was off his game, so it was a double whammy. And that's why the scoreboard has been so one-sided. And after playing a good opening service game, Roger wasn't at the races today.
It's got to hurt, hasn't it? There's no question. The manner of the loss.
Of course it does. When you look at the scoreboard, and for a long time there, it looked like it was going to be one in love before he was able to put a couple of games up on the scoreboard. And of course, somebody who's got such a proud record and has been one of the greatest players ever to play the game, of course it's going to hurt.
Of course, he needs to regroup now and try and get the body in decent shape, the mind more importantly, to try and build his confidence going into the French Open. But Nadal, off the back of those 2 victories in Madrid last week, and of course here in Rome, this will surely be full of confidence now as he attempts to win in Paris. Over 5 sets, of course, it's going to be much more difficult for the opposition to get the better of the Spaniards. His numbers improve with each passing victory on this particular surface. In my mind, the greatest clay court player of all time, without a shadow of a doubt, on over 90, or almost 96% of his matches since 2005 on this surface. With each passing season, just continues to break record after record. And his comeback this season, after missing the whole of last season post-Wimbledon, let's not forget that, it's been simply incredible, Robert.
And no one would have suggested that it would have been this good. I think the big surprise for us all was him doing so well in Indian Wells. You know, I think he was so far ahead of everybody on this particular surface that even when he did come back, he was still going to be very tough to beat. Had that early loss to Horacio Zeballos, but then after that, he really has set the bars at vertigo-inducing heights once again.
So it's Nadal who signs off as champion this week. It's been hard historically to win back-to-back Masters Series 1000s. That's one of the reasons why they changed the finals from 5 sets to 3 sets all those years ago, so that players could compete in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and I think it was right after the final here in 2006 when both Federer and Nadal, if memory serves, missed Hamburg the following week. And that's when things certainly did take a turn. But today things didn't work out for Federer. He made a few too many unforced errors. The serve was ineffective. And even when he tried to come forward, he wasn't able to make any inroads against Nadal, who just kept it watertight, does what he does so well against the righties, served effectively, hit the forehand well, and when the opportunity presented itself, was able to convert more often than not on the break points.
Giocatore finalista degli internazionali BNL d'Italia 2013, Roger Federer. consegna il premio il presidente del CONI Giovanni Malagò. Ed il vincitore della 70ª edizione degli internazionali BNL d'Italia, Rafael Nadal.
Uncle Tony must be delighted overseeing the comeback this season.
Consegna il premio Angelo Binaghi, presidente FIT.
A 24th ATP Masters Series 1000 title for the Spaniard. The 6th victory of the year.
Delegato del BNL gruppo BNP Paribas, title sponsor di questo torneo da 7 anni e da 40 anni partner del tennis in tutto il mondo, consegna il trofeo speciale per celebrare i suoi 100 anni di storia con i vincitori dell'edizione 2013. Vince il titolo ATP Master 1000 Roma per gli internazionali BNL d'Italia 2013, Rafael Nadal.
For the 7th time, the champion here in Rome.
La parola a Lea Pericoli per condividere insieme l'emozione dei giocatori in questa finale.
Roger, it's not easy to make a question a questo punto. Non è facile fargli una domanda.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Rafa, for an amazing tournament. Way to back up a great with Madrid already and win here again in Rome for number 7. I think it is well done. Amazing job. And then for me, it's also been a good week. I had a nice time here with my family. So obviously today wasn't my day. It was more Rafa's day. It's been very often the case against me, so it's obviously tough for me. But overall, I'm very happy and I'm looking forward to coming back next year. Thank you.
Innanzitutto ha desiderato congratularsi con Nadal per questa bellissima vittoria e ovviamente ha parlato dei suoi giorni felici qui a Roma, una città che adora, e naturalmente il suo ritorno ce l'ha messo per l'anno prossimo. Allora Rafa, tu parli italiano, quindi a te il microfono.
Well, ciao, buongiorno a tutti. La prima parola la voglio dire in inglese per Roger. Hello. For today, you know, you're having a great season. I wish you all the best for Roland Garros. See you there, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Well. Sì, ok, it's fine. Voglio ringraziare a tutta la gente oggi qua, no? Per me è il pubblico è sempre fantastico, qui a Roma è la città più bella del mondo e per me è veramente un privilegio e un onore avere l'opportunità di giocare un altro giorno qui in questo fantastico campo. Voglio ringraziare a tutta la gente che fa possibile un torneo così, il direttore del torneo, tutti gli sponsor. Senza gli sponsor è impossibile avere una settimana tan buona per tutti i giocatori e per tutti gli spettatori. Voglio dire che per me è un giorno molto, molto importante, molto felice. Dopo un anno difficile l'anno scorso sono veramente molto emozionato di vincere qui in un torneo con tanta storia come è Roma. Per ultimo voglio dare la grazia a tutte le autorità e ci vediamo l'anno prossimo. Grazie mille.
Very nicely done.
Grazie ancora una volta al meraviglioso pubblico di Roma e l'appuntamento per il prossimo anno.
A 30th meeting between these two. Didn't quite live up to all of our expectations. Nadal rock solid, Federer a little below his best, and of course he needed to play lights out really today to stand a chance against Nadal on clay. It's a shame that it wasn't a little closer.
Yeah, I think he was well below his best, was Roger. Didn't see any urgency in the feet today. Definitely struggled big time. As I said, double whammy with Nadal playing some of the best tennis we've seen towards the tail end of the clay court season. That's why you end up seeing such a one-sided scoreline.
He's got better with each clay court event that he's played this season, including these Masters Series 1000s, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. And whilst many suggested that out of all the clay court titles that he lost, Monte Carlo was the most surprising because he's had the most success there. You've got to remember that came early on in the season when hadn't as many matches under the belt as what he's got now. So that's the big difference.
There was talk last week that he wasn't quite where he was 12 months ago. At the end of this week, where is he now?
I think he's right there. I think he's perfectly primed. And for me, without a doubt, the favourite going into Roland Garros now. I don't see anything different at the end of the Masters 1000 events this clay court season that I haven't seen in the last 7 or 8 years when he's gone on to dominate at Roland Garros. So I think things are about as perfect as what they could be for Nadal.
And of course, these clay court events have always been very much his focus, coming back from injury, trying to win in Paris. And of course, in order to do that, he needed to have success at the highest level in these Masters Series 1000. So everything very much going according to plan right now.
It certainly has. And you know what they say, precise preparation prevents poor performance. And Nadal is so good at preparing well. He is so meticulous in his preparation, and you can see the way he handles himself on the court. Everything is so meticulous, and that filters through into the way he practices, the way he trains, and that's why he's had so much success on this particular surface over the years. He takes care of the details.
Of course, nice for all of those associated with him. They will have gone through some hard times when he was sidelined with injury, tail end of last season, and then of course they'll have all had doubts, as Nadal would have done too, when he started his comeback, playing in the 250s, and then of course doing so well in Indian Wells, and then taking it up a notch in these Masters Series 1000s. But they've got to be delighted now, Robbie, because in terms of striking the ball, it's improved week upon week, but even throughout this tournament, he's got better and better, more aggressive now, using the forehand a little more readily to dominate from the back of the court, rather than just relying on the consistency. The movement is better as well, isn't it? And of course, overall confidence too.
Absolutely, you've touched on everything there. Very little to add to that summation. Makes for I think let's not forget he's won 3 of the 4 Masters 1000 events that he's played this year, so that's how good the comeback has been for Rafa.